Last year, January 14th of 2007, we launched a website. And when I say we, I mean me and 6 college kids at Middlebury College. StepItUp07.org. We didn't have any money, and we didn't have any organization or mailing lists or anything. We just had this kind of conviction that something needed to happen. And so we wrote emails to everybody we could think of and asked them to forward those emails on. And there were lots of people in this room who helped in that process. Our secret hope was that we would manage to organize 100 demonstrations around the country, which would have been 100 more than there'd been. But we didn't tell anyone because it seemed grandiose. Instead, the thing just took off. Took off like we couldn't have ever imagined. And 3 months later, in the middle of April, we had 1,400 demonstrations in all 50 states. It was the biggest day of grassroots environmental action since Earth Day in 1970. And what was most beautiful about it was the incredible creativity that people brought to it all across the country. Okay? We had, in Key West in Florida, only coral reefs in the U.S. Coral reefs, not an ecosystem that's going to do very well in a globally warmed world. We're already losing great swaths of them every year to the bleaching of the hot rising temperature of the sea. They did an underwater demonstration, hundreds of scuba divers down underwater with signs and big fish swimming through the middle, this kind of interspecies collaboration, you know. Further north in Florida, in Jacksonville, where I've never been, but which I suspect is different than Vermont, the place that they chose for their demonstration was the parking lot of the Jacksonville Jaguars football stadium, okay? And what they did was they rented a crane and they winched a yacht 20 foot up into the air. And they said, look, when Greenland slides into the ocean, that's where the ocean will be. You know, and even from 1,000 miles away, you could hear people just sort of saying, I get it now. I understand what you're saying. In Lower Manhattan, we had thousands of people in blue shirts, a sea of people, they called it, holding hands, showing where kind of human tide line, where the water would be in a few years across the most expensive real estate on the continent. Out west, there were lots of people up on the great glaciated peaks of this part of the world. They did these multi-day ascents, and then they would ski down in formation, kind of webcasting as they went. The point being that those great glaciated peaks aren't going to be there all that much longer. Those glaciers are going to disappear. On and on and on around the country. It was incredibly moving. Not only that, it was incredibly effective. Along with a lot of other people doing a lot of other things, by the time those demonstrations played themselves out, the political landscape around this had begun to change. All the Democratic presidential candidates had signed on to this goal of 80% by 2050. In fact, when we did another round of these in November, they ended with this great demonstration at the University of Maryland. We had 7,000 college kids from all over the country who came to this. They were in a basketball court at the University of Maryland. It was a really inspiring night. And Nancy Pelosi got up to give the speech. And she was leading them all in this chant of 80% by 2050. And those 7 of us who started this thing were backstage watching this, and we were kind of looking at each other and giggling because we knew that a year before it had just been this sort of thing scrawled on a piece of cardboard, you know, at the end of this march. And yet it was incredibly good for us to see, and especially for those young people to see, that they did not need to be as cynical about the political process as most Americans had become. That there was real possibility to still make this system move. Maybe. But only if we really went at it, you know? Not just contented ourselves with doing the easy things, but tried hard to do the hard things. Our kind of motto as the year went on, because we kept hearing from people who said, you know, I'm doing this, I'm organizing one of these because I screwed in the new light bulb over my kitchen table, and even as I was doing it, a kind of complex fluorescent light bulb went on in my head, and I thought, this probably won't solve global warming, you know? Our kind of motto became, screw in the new light bulb, but then screw in the new senator, you know? And the second, far more important than the first, you know. It's only by taking that kind of action at the top that we're going to be able to make change on the scale and in the time that's required. And now, having been, absolutely, and now having been, fooled into thinking that we knew what we were doing a little bit by this year of doing this Step It Up stuff, the kids who I started this thing with last year and I are on the edge of launching a new initiative, this one even more absurdly ambitious. You all remember that number that I told you before? 350, thank you. If you go to your computer and type in 350.org, you'll see the beta version of the website, the sort of beginning version of the website that in a few weeks will be fully fleshed out. That's the kind of home of what we hope will quickly become a worldwide grassroots campaign to get the entire planet understanding this number, to take that number and tattoo it into the brains of people around the planet, so that if they know nothing else about climate change and global warming and things, they will know that that number, which is a radical number, represents a kind of safety, a real possibility. There's no way for any of us to really go and lobby the international process. You know, it's a very amorphous thing, this international attempt to come up with the next treaty to replace the Kyoto one. But if we can get that number out there, numbers have a kind of strange magnetic pull, you know. The things that we measure and the things that we count become the things that we do, and if we can set that as the bar for where we need to go, then maybe, just maybe, there's some possibility of the concerted international action that we need to make this happen. That's our hope anyway, and I very much want all of you to become involved in this, to go in right now and give us your names so we can be in touch with you, and to give us the names of people you know around the world, in every country on the earth, who might be interested in this, and to give us your ideas too, because we don't know. No one's ever really done a grassroots global campaign. We don't really know how we're going to manage to make everybody know this number and understand its importance. We need your help to figure out how to do that.